This is our 11th episode, how social sales is dramatically increasing customer acquisition. Today, we're going to talk with two social sales powerhouses and one seasoned sales executive. Daniel's here to keep us honest.
There you go.
On the subject of customer acquisition. Now, there's at least three of us in this virtual room that are true believers in social sales. I'm not saying Daniel's not, but I wanted to bring in somebody that can, keep us in check. So if you sell anything, this is an episode that you don't want to miss out on. So let's get started. I'm your host, Mark Fidelman, managing partner of Fanatics Media. So excited about today's show and who's on it. I will just let you know as a reminder, if you're watching this live or the video, we're about how-to content, not fluff. Please ask questions on the right-hand side with a /Q, and I'll try my best to get them asked. But I think with this crowd that we have now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a word in edgewise. Also tweet out on the blab on the left-hand side. You see that little tweet button over there. And then subscribe to all the guests and give them props when answering questions that you like. And if you don't like them, then let them know about it in the comment section. So let's get started. My first guest, Jon Ferrara, CEO of Nimble, one of the leading social CRM tools on the market. He's a wealth of information, especially when it comes to social sales. So I can't wait to hear about some of his latest tips and tricks. It seems like Jon's always learning something new. We've got Vala Afshar in his new role of Chief Evangelist for Salesforce.com. And I, like you, Jon, haven't really heard from Vala since getting this, this huge role. So we're happy to have you, Vala.
I'm happy to be here.
Vala was also the former CMO of Extreme Networks. And so, Vala, I assume you're still in Boston. Have you moved to the Bay Area?
No, I'm still in Boston, but last 6 weeks, 4 of it was in San Fran. So I'm going back and forth. And forth.
I hope that's not hurting the family relationships there. I'm sure you figured out a way to deal with it.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm having a blast.
Okay. And then finally, Daniel Tautges. He's a Fanatics Media, kind of owns sales operations for us, an executive of 20 years experience. He's going to keep us in check. He understands the traditional side as well as the social side. So it'll be fun to hear what Daniel has to say. So let's just jump right into it. And I'm going to start with Jon. And our first topic is how, Jon, has sales evolved in the last 12 months? We always hear about how sales has evolved in the last 5 years, but how about the last 12 months? What's happened in either social selling or selling in general?
Well, I think that people have woken up to the fact that service is the new sales, that the whole reason that we're in business is to help other people become better, smarter, faster at scale. And if you're not doing that, if you're not entering every sales opportunity with the intent to help that person grow, you're failing as a salesperson. I think that we're going through a renaissance in relationships where people are really understanding the value of your network, that it's your net worth, that your brand and your network enables you to get shit done. And if you aren't top of mind with the customer when they're making buying decisions, you're done, because Mae West said, out of sight is out of mind, and out of mind is out of money, honey.
Vala, what do you think? What's happened? What's going on at Salesforce, and what are they talking about, especially in the last 12 months? Any shifts that you've seen?
I've been with Salesforce for 3 months, and I can tell you the topic of community is incredibly important. An opportunity for customers to view CRM investments from a platform point of view, which speaks to integration of sales, services, and marketing. I absolutely agree with Jon. It's not just because I spent 10 years as the chief customer officer of a company. In fact, when I met you, Mark, I was running services a few years back. And I always felt that the most number of touch points with our customers are with our service organization. So it's incredibly important for every engagement, every customer engagement with services to really deliver the brand promise. And so integration of different lines of business, the power of community, and the fact that customers in the last 12 months are more connected than ever before. In the last 12 months, social is the #1 use of web. In the last 12 months, media consumption online surpassed television. So every one of our customers has a computer in their pocket, and they know a lot more about our products, our competitors, our capabilities than ever before.
I thought you were going to say something like, artificial intelligence automation around social selling. I mean, because you remember what was it? That automated tweet, machine tweeted. Yeah. That was.
Let me tell you, I am a kid in a candy store because at the latest Dreamforce we announced the IoT cloud, and when I was implementing capabilities of communicating with machines across a public cloud using a social network in 2011, we didn't even use IoT as terminology. So I'm in the product organization. Some folks think that I'm in the marketing arm of Salesforce. I'm actually in the product organization. So it's a privilege for me to work with innovative CXOs and really bring that deep learning, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and Internet of Things and shape our solutions moving forward. You're right. That is definitely, I get goosebumps when I think about the possibilities.
Yeah, I thought maybe you guys had taken that a step further, but now that you moved on to Salesforce, I think that's probably maybe a little bit more challenging. Hey, Daniel, what have you seen in the last 12 months, whether it's selling or social selling or what have you? What's changed?
I just think the customer becomes more and more educated. I mean, I think that's the biggest impression, to me. Sales spend a lot of time educating. Traditionally it was a big educational process, and the reliance on digital media is, I think, just gone supernova, and social, because that's the way they're informing customers now. So when they're coming into a deal or you're starting to engage them, they know your product almost as well as you know your product. It's almost scary, right? The amount of information that they can go get. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. It's probably been longer than 12 months, but really 12 to 18 months. It just seems like it's really scaled up. I don't know. Have you guys seen the same thing?
Well, I absolutely believe that if you aren't walking in your customer's digital footprint and adding value to their conversation on a daily basis to set yourself up as a trusted advisor, so when they make a buying decision, they not only pick up the phone and they call you, but they drag their friends with them, you're done in business today. Great. And so basically stop selling, start serving. Stop talking about yourself, your products. Start talking about how you can help other people grow. And I tell people every day, if you teach people to fish, they'll figure out yourself fishing poles. So your job as a salesperson is to just be out there in the river with your customers, not selling, serving them, and helping them grow. And social is a friggin' amazing way to do that. Good. And so, I want people to understand that it really hasn't changed. Sales hasn't changed. If you go back 100 years, this is the way we've always done business.
Sure.
Business is social. Life is social. People buy from people they like and like people who know them. Your job as a business person is to basically build your reputation, and you build your reputation on the promises you make and the experiences that you deliver. And if you can align those two, you can kill it. Right, Vala?
Absolutely. But I tell you, Jon, as you know, because you're probably the most social CEO that I know, it's not a hygiene issue. So I have 3 kids. Before dinner, I tell my 12, 9, and 5-year-old, go wash your hand and get ready for supper. Guess what? 5 minutes later, we're good to go. Being social, being a social selling professional, it's a health issue. You have to get plenty of sleep, you have to get plenty of exercise, and you have to monitor your caloric intake. Yeah. And if you do all of those 3 things for a sustained period of time and expect results based on the level of effort and energy you put into it, perhaps over time when you're climbing a set of stairs, you're not huffing and puffing.
Yeah, so it's an investment over time. You're not going to become an Olympic athlete overnight. That's right. The other thing I think you got to remember as a social salesperson, it's not about social connections. It's not about building your brand. It's about helping people become better, smarter, faster, and you need results for that. So whatever we're talking about, sales needs results. And so ultimately, build the connection, stay top of mind, but you got to be focused as a business person to drive the results. And I think a lot of people out there who do social, they just do it because they love to talk and they love to build the connections. Yeah, that's all great. I love it too. But if you aren't scaling your brand and delivering solutions effectively in a measurable way, and I like to say it this way, I like to say that you should identify people that matter, reach out and build relevant and authentic pay-it-forward connections that result in mutually beneficial, measurable business outcomes.
Good. It's a mouthful.
I don't think I
Does
can
that
say
fit in a
that,
tweet?
quick.
I
I'm
love
gonna
it.
record that one.
I don't know if it's 140 characters.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, all right. On that note, let's go into what is new in social selling and what's on the horizon. So, John, I'm going to start with you and end with Daniel. I want him to play cynic. But what's new in social selling? What are you seeing? Because you're always testing and trying new things, throwing stuff up against the wall.
You know, I think that what I see that's new that I'm not really liking is the automation. You know, I think that people smell it when it doesn't feel right, when it's not human. And I think that the more digital we get, the more human we need to be. Don't auto DM me with shit that's not relevant to me and the relationship we're having. Don't send me emails that don't show me that you actually haven't thought about who I am and how you're going to help me grow, right? And so basically, in order to cut through our over-connected, over-communicated world, you need to reach out in an authentic and relevant way and let that person know how you're going to help them or their business grow. Why are you connecting? And if you do connect with somebody, follow up and follow through. It's the basics that wins games. And I think that too many people are relying on this automation stuff. They think it's actually going to work for them. You know what? It didn't work with email. It's not going to work with social. And if you could be human, relevant, and authentic, clearly state how you're going to help somebody grow, build a connection, and most importantly, follow up and follow through, because I think that's the biggest cause of failure in business is people say shit, they don't do it.
So, John, how do you scale that though? I mean, I don't know, you're like a superhuman. If you're not automating any of it, how are you being a CEO and a social expert and everything else that encompasses a CEO in a fast growing company?
Well, I think that in life you have to have a passion, plan, and purpose. If you can figure out your passion, build a plan, and make it purpose on a daily basis, you can win. And unfortunately, because building a technology company requires so much focus and time, I think that you, Mark, and Vala would have to admit that we have not connected in a while. Is that right? And
I mean, you and I kind of have.
We
email.
connect more often, right?
Yeah, we should.
So basically, there's a Dunbar limit. You can only stay connected to 100 to 200 people at any one time in a human way without aid. And so we do need assistance in scaling our networks, because most people's networks are in the tens of thousands. And we're telling everybody on a regular basis to share content, to inspire and educate other people, to build your brand and your network so people think of you when they're making a buying decision. But you know what? If you do what we're telling you, you're going to get your social +1 likes, comments to be looking like your inbox. In other words, you're going to get overwhelmed. Vala, are you overwhelmed by your social interactions? You probably can't even respond to them.
I can't.
Okay.
To be honest with you, it's become very hard for me to.
So you basically, I think, epitomize the kind of business executive that leveraged social to build a brand and a network. It got you out of the service department, which I'm not putting service down because I think it's the most important thing in a company. But I used to be a systems engineer. I used to really hate the sales guys. But anyways. So it got you out of that and through 2 different companies, and now you got this great new position. The problem is how does it scale? So back to your question. What we're doing is we're basically evolving our platform into a simply smarter social sales and marketing system, because I don't think that sales and marketing should have ever been split apart. And I think that salespeople need to become their own marketers. And so today, in order to build a sales stack, you have to buy a relationship intelligence program, a sales enablement program, an email tracking program, and a relationship manager, right? So basically,
John,
that means you have to go out and buy all these tools. I just think that the system needs to be able to help you segment people. And then when you reach out and have that reach out message be authentic and relevant, tailored. And so that's what we're building, because I can't scale and I'm tired of getting these machine emails or DMs. And I think we're all feeling that. And so I think one of the new things is everybody's using automation to try to scale their relationships. And I think that, yes, you can use some of this automation, but you can't rely on it. And if you do use automation, make sure it knows who the person is, what their business is about, the status of your connection, and have it tailored so when that person feels it, it doesn't feel like it just went to 500. It feels like you sent it to them.
Sure. Vala, I mean, is the sales and marketing role going to combine at some point? I mean, it just seems like if you got marketers on social media, you got salespeople that are, it just seems like the role will converge at some point. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're right. So in my prior role before joining Salesforce, I was the chief marketing officer of a $600 million public company. And we decided at my request to bring inside sales into marketing. What I wanted to do is to create a seamless process, culture of togetherness in marketing and sales, working from the very top of the funnel and bringing it to the middle layers. You know, there's your traditional 7 layers in the funnel. And by the way, I think the funnel is being disrupted. So that's a whole other topic. But I do agree that there's an intersection of sales and marketing. And we took deliberate steps of bringing our inside sales and sales development reps and have them be part of the marketing organization. It helped our conversion rates. It helped the quality of our leads. It helped the conversation between sales and marketing. And I also think the fastest rising C-suite in the enterprise appears to be a chief digital, chief data officer, chief digital specifically. About 2,000 of them by the end of this year in LinkedIn. If you look 3 years ago, you couldn't find 75. And I believe from a technology point of view, there's a definite deliberate effort of making sure sales and marketing become more closely aligned. Gartner just this week published their extensive survey of tech spend in marketing, and social was number 1 on the list, social marketing, followed by analytics and mobile. But all of these things speak to not only productivity and proficiency of sales and marketing, but also better communication and alignment. So those days where marketeers would be unable to answer a simple question, what can we expect in terms of our ROI in this campaign or this event, or those days are gone. So CMOs really have to really think about revenue is more important than qualified leads, and I think that's where you're going to see explosive growth in e-commerce. Because marketeers have an opportunity to own a number, and they can do that by leveraging e-commerce. And I'm seeing more and more as I speak to customers that is e-commerce integration into a community environment, because you have your biggest and best advocates, and you can leverage them to enhance the conversation. And going back to your question, I just want to say in the last 12 months, what I've noticed, it's very dangerous for you in sales to stand in front of an executive. And I can tell you this firsthand because I speak to, fortunately, in my role, I have an opportunity to speak to CXOs on almost a daily basis. You stand in front of a CXO at your first meeting and you start a conversation with, tell us about your pain points. Tell us about your objectives and mission. Today, there are blogs, videos, websites, blab conversations. It's very likely that the CIO or CMO or whomever you're standing in front has taken the time to explain their mission, their charter, their vision, their goals for the next 12 to 24 months. And if you didn't take the time to research the needs of the individual, the organization, and the institution that you're pitching to, you will shut that conversation off in the first few minutes. So it's very dangerous to
I
do this.
absolutely agree with you 100%, Val. If you don't nimble a customer before you go in the door, you're dead. but
I'd be surprised if you get the meeting. I mean, I'd be really surprised if you can get the meeting. I mean, I think to your point, they're not even going to see you. So until you come to them with value, there's no real reason being there.
But that's not different.
Yeah, it's not
From the beginning of time, we taught our salespeople, be prepared before you go in the door.
For sure.
But I want to get back to your question, Mark, because I think that a lot of people are talking about sales and marketing coming together, and it's a brand new thing. I don't know if you know it or not, but I trademarked automated processes 25 years ago, which was actions based on triggers, if this and that for people and companies, and that was built into Goldmine. So sales and marketing has been together for a long time. I do believe that you still need a marketing department. I don't think that salespeople should become the marketing department. What I do believe is that they should be working closely more aligned with the vision and the message and the brand and storytelling that you're doing as a company. And I'm going to come back to the storytelling thing. I believe a company brand is built on the promises that you make and the experiences that you deliver. And I believe the experience you deliver in many cases are through your customer-facing team members. And so if you can empower them to build their brand, that will build the company brand. And so in that vein, the salespeople should be sharing content to inspire and educate the customer, and not just the crap that the company sends them, but stuff they've curated themselves that's in and around their own passion, plan, and purpose, and not just business crap, but stuff that shows their heart and soul, because the more human a company is, the more people will connect to it. And if you have, rather than just Salesforce, brand, Twitter identity, sharing shit, you've got people like Vala sharing stuff that is inspiration and education around his passion and his heart. That's going to basically connect people to the company. That's why Mark Benioff is so powerful, because he connects in a human way to people. And so salespeople should become their own marketers to build their brand in the network, because they're not going to work at that company for the rest of their lives, and they need to be building that network. And in the old days, you know how we did this? My sales reps used to have an email list, and whenever they had news, information, they'd blast their customers to stay top of mind. So this stuff we're talking about is not that different. And I could tell you the story of Defender Milk. You guys should know this story. Raise your hands. Anybody know the story of Defender Milk?
No.
Vala?
No.
No? Okay. It's short. Yeah. So Defender Milk was a powdered milk company that basically was trying to compete with all the other powdered milk companies. They couldn't really build their brand. They started to collect, somebody in the office started to collect letters from moms asking questions about what to do with this powdered milk, how to feed the babies. They eventually started answering the questions. They made a book out of it. It became the #1 seller around the world next to the Bible, and it helped build that brand of that company. Do you want to know the name of the company? What they became?
Procter & Gamble.
Glaxo Wellcome. So basically this story is from 1800s. So content marketing is not new. It's been around for a long, long time.
Okay. Hey, Daniel, I want you to play skeptic for a minute. Why hasn't everyone embraced social sales yet? I mean, I've been preaching about this for the last 2 or 3 years. What do you think is the reason why Jon and Vala and myself are haven't converted, 100% of the companies out there that have large or even small sales forces?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a paradigm between what do you want your salespeople doing and what do you want your marketing people doing. And, I want my marketing people marketing, and I want my salespeople selling. That's really what I want them doing. And when you start to converge those things, what ends up happening is it breaks. I mean, I made a call to a company just recently, and I have kind of a 10-point health check that I run when I look at the sales organization, right? A random call. See how they run me through a sales process. I mean, I don't know if you've ever done it, guys, but it's great, right? So where do they take me? What journey do I go on? I throw up a bunch of objections, and it's a 100-point kind of thing that I go through, right? And, turn it back to them and say, here's what happened on a sales call. Clearly who I got was a marketing person or an uneducated salesperson. Couldn't even say close. I mean, doesn't know how to spell it, right? You want your salespeople to know when you have buying signs. You want them to qualify that deal and close it. Do you want them on Twitter? Do you want them Facebooking? Do you want them posting? No, I want them on the phone, building those relationships that you talked about, Jon, and closing business, right? So I think that's really the dichotomy here, between the two.
I think one of the issues, though, Daniel, is that in today's environment, people don't want to talk to a salesperson. They want to talk to a trusted expert. And so what's going to happen is they're going to do all their own homework. And then after they get done their homework, they're going to look for somebody to help them do it. And what they want is somebody who's an expert. And they're going to Google you. And if you don't turn up with an identity that demonstrates that you can help them become better, smarter, faster, and you're just some guy who's trying to close them, that is old school.
Depends on the deal. You get an inbound sales call. You get an inbound sales call. It's an inbound sales call. Have they found your social profile? You're just calling a desk, right? So get an inbound sales call. That sales call comes in.
It depends on the situation.
You have to qualify that buyer right there, right? You have to qualify it. Is this a nurture? Is this a developer?
So let's talk about that, Daniel.
Yeah, let's
talk about that. An inside sales team, right? I think that's going away of the dodo.
Why?
And I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
I don't think that I want salespeople talking to my customers.
Wow.
I want customer success people. I want customer wow people. I want somebody who's who's rewarded on customer success and longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And so my vision of an inside sales team is every single one of those people starts in my customer care team, and they understand the product, they understand the customer journey, they understand customer success, and the ones that are able to do the basic qualifying and closing, I will then promote them into a role where they're not reacting to inbound questions, but they're able to do outbound engagement with a higher qualified leads to help them succeed.
Now,
but
John,
I just think, yes.
Oh, I was going to say, they're not teaching this in school.
No,
and other
that's
companies aren't teaching this. So how are we going to find these trained people? So can we send them all through your organization? And
well,
I would love to have you train people.
This is how I built Goldmine. I didn't build Goldmine by hiring salespeople to go pound on people. I hired people that were good at customer interactions. We hired people who were history majors, hairdressers. They worked at Best Buy, and these people understood the customer journey. We taught them technology, and you know what? We were able to bring people in and grow them dramatically, and we built a culture of people that loved it because they felt like they came to work every day and they learned stuff and they grew. You go out and hire $100,000, $200,000 a year sales guy, and he's basically just going to want to bag them and tag them. And I love to tell this story. Sorry, I'm going to tell another story. It's the story of the way most companies run. They run like a castle. And outside the castle is all their community. And inside the castle, you got all these departments. On the wall, you got these marketing people pouring hot oil over the wall, trying to slow the customer down so the salespeople can shoot them with the arrow and kill them, bag them and tag them. And God forbid any salesperson gets in front of that salesperson because they're going to get an arrow in the back of their head. And then as soon as you bag them and tag them, you throw them down in the dungeon to basically deal with the customer service people who just minimize the conversation, and they're the peons in the organization, and you got walls between all these departments. Nobody talks to each other. And you know what the sad thing is today? That's the way 99% of the companies run out there. Tell me I'm wrong, Vala.
No, that's my point. Is how come we're not breaking through these walls, right? I mean,
I'm going to tell you what's going to break through the walls. Social media is changing the way we work and play. It's increasing the transparency and expectations of what we have between each other, what people have with companies, employees to employers. And I think that transparency is going to equate to an expectation that they're treated differently. People treat each other differently. The companies treat the customers differently, and employers treat employees differently. And basically, I think that sales is going to evolve where it's not a four-letter word and people think that salespeople are like lawyers. And right now, today, they're Slick Willie. Tomorrow, it's going to be a different view.
You think salespeople are Slick Willies? I mean, that's pretty rough. I mean, not everyone's a car salesman.
Oh, please.
Well, you're a marketing guy. What do you know?
Daniel, look at me. I've been doing sales all my life.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Me too.
I know.
It's the hardest job in any company.
Me too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Until they deal with quotas, people have to close business. So are there quotas in your company, John?
There are.
Okay, well, you have a closed deal, right?
I'm going to tell you something, Danny. You want to hear something funny?
Sure.
We're generating 70,000 unique visitors per month on our website, closing up to 10% to trial and 20% of those to paid with zero marketing spend and no salespeople.
That's impressive.
I don't even have a marketing department.
Yeah.
And I don't have any salespeople.
Wow.
My salespeople and my marketing people are right here on this screen, right there in the audience. Mark, you are my marketing, my salespeople. Vala, you are my marketing. Our customers are our best marketers, sure. Our support people, and our salespeople. And I believe that if you can align the promises you make, the experiences you deliver, tell great stories, and get other people to tell their stories, you could build a gold mine. And I know it. I did it.
Yep.
Yeah. Mark, going back to your question, so and I think you wrote a few years ago that only 25% of universities have actual social media or social networking.
No, it was zero.
Oh, zero. Okay.
Social business.
Yeah, I think
there's definitely some now, but
sure.
2 years ago,
the good news is that these folks that are graduating are digital natives. They're not digital immigrants like myself. And they have digital proficiency. They use technology and they're comfortable with it. So the notion of telling them social is a good thing or mobile is important, all that stuff is you don't have to you don't have to worry about that. They grew up with it. But I'll give you an example of a CMO of a B2B company, because that's my experience. When I looked at us pitching to a customer, based on my experience, the buying decision team was on average 6-7 people. Depending on the industry, even if you were in the same vertical like education, you had different personas that made up these buying decision team. So in higher ed, you had a CIO. In K-12, you had a superintendent. And the superintendent has a tremendous juice in terms of where they were going to invest the technology budget. So different personas, 6 to 7. As the groups got larger, it was harder and it took longer to close business. The buying process map were vastly different, because the different personas, like nurse, head of nursing in healthcare, again, a lot of juice, different buying process map than the CTO or the network director, and so on and so forth. So the complexity of understanding the different buyers and the buying process map, if you're not using analytics, if you're not using social, if you're not creating a personal learning network as a salesperson to understand, based on contextual intelligence, how to deliver the right content to the right person across the right channel at the right time, you're not going to meet your quota. You're going to lose. And so the best salespeople in my prior organization that I worked with leveraged all the channels they could to have a deeper, better understanding of the buying decision team, the buying process map, and all that leads to you using the customer's language to position yourself, as Jon said, a trusted advisor. I mean, trust is the currency in a hyper-connected knowledge-sharing world that we live in. And social just enables that. And the reason why us three perhaps struggle to get mass adoption, it is hard. You have to be a caring person. You have to be smart. You have to work your butt off. And for a long time, it feels like echo, like no one's out there listening to you. Well, and then suddenly the magic happens.
You know, Vala, I think that if we tell stories and equate it to what people can understand, they'll understand that they've been doing this since the beginning of time.
Sure.
In the old days, I taught my salespeople, when they walk in office, look at the walls. Look at the books they read, the degree of the school they went to, the knickknacks they collect. Figure out your areas of commonality. Share these, break the ice, build intimacy and trust, so they open up to you about their business issues, which as a professional you can then solve. Today, we can do that electronically. And if you're not doing that to understand the context of the relationship, right, to have insights into who they are and what their business is about, then you're not going to succeed. But I think that the mistake that people make when they talk about social selling is they think it's about social media or about Twitter or Facebook. It's about none of these. It's really about understanding that person and their company and figuring out how you can help them become better, smarter, faster. Some of it is personal. Some of it is their role in the organization, just like what you're selling, all the stuff we read out of strategic selling. And so today, you need to understand the history of email, conversations, calendar activities, social interactions between that person, that company, you and your team and your brand, to understand how you might engage them and stay top of mind. And it's hard today because today there's islands still in the company. So today in a typical company, you got Salesforce, Zendesk, Marketo, NetSuite, and Hootsuite, let's just say, right? And so all those are islands of information. Then you've got Outlook, Address Book, or Google Contacts as the contact database. And none of these things talk to each other. And so when you bring up a contact record in any of these platforms, you don't really understand the journey of the customer. And so I think that until you could really bring together sales, marketing, customer service, social media, accounting, and the contact tools on email, contact, and calendar, and unify that into a cohesive whole, it's going to be really hard to deliver a complete customer journey throughout an organization. And I think the other problem people mistake with the whole idea of selling or serving the customer is that they think that a company should be focused on prospects and customers. And it's just sales and marketing that's doing the engagement. I think social selling should really talk about the entire customer journey and the whole team that's engaging that customer. So at Nimble, we engage editors, analysts, bloggers, influencers, third-party developers, investors, advisors, and prospects and customers. And you know what? Many of them are prospects and customers too. So it's all blurring, and it's not just sales and marketing people who are touching them. And so I think that I love what you're talking about. Is you're talking about the basics in selling. And yes, you need to be able to do that stuff that they taught in strategic selling. And Daniel, social media is not about a Twitter share or a Facebook like or whatever. It's about human connections with people, because when the shitstorm happens and somebody else is going in there and discounting by half, you're going to have a relationship with that person or those people in order to keep that customer. And ultimately, that's what the best salespeople do, is they build relationships.
Obviously,
right.
I mean, that's always
relationships.
Fundamentally, right? That's fundamentally where you're going to differentiate yourself and your company.
Yeah. So let's not talk about social. Let's talk about the value of relationships.
Yeah, I like that, I mean, for sure.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit more, but I want to get very specific, like actual tips. Now, Jon, you walked me through kind of a 10-minute process before on how you connect with people, but I'm going to start with Vala this time. Vala, what do you do as the chief social evangelist for Salesforce to kind of evangelize, your platforms to the masses? Or are you doing it on a one-on-one, or what specifically are you doing and how are you doing it?
So, part of my mission in my new role with Salesforce is to not only develop my own narrative, but to better understand the narrative of our company, our customers, and our partners. And I'm deliberate in terms of using the word narrative. I had the pleasure of learning from John Hagel, and John, and I think you all know John, co-chair of the think tank at Deloitte. And John talked about the difference between stories and narratives. And he said that, stories are, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's about someone else. It's a close-ended. Whereas narratives, are open-ended and inclusive. It's about us. And he gave me examples of how narratives have created movements. And when you see Benioff on stage, Mark it's all about a narrative. I mean, intertwined in it, there are stories. So part of making meaningful connections is understanding our customers' narratives, understanding how they use the culture, people, process, and lastly, technology to achieve desired outcomes. In sales, we talked about it's about outcomes. It's about meeting a quota, and it's about building relationships and total lifetime value of a customer, and so on and so forth. So, for me, in the last few years, I've been very deliberate, purposeful, and hardworking in terms of the connections I make. I'm grateful to be here on this show. All of us met on Twitter. That's right. That's how we met. So nurture those connections that you have. Your network consists of all these connections. And I know at the beginning of the show, I mentioned that I have a tough time maintaining the quality relationships that I had when I started. And John mentioned the last time us three engaged together, and it becomes more difficult, but it can be very rewarding. And so, as John mentioned, I also work with customers, our partners, analysts, thought leaders, and my goal is to, when I learn something from any one of these individuals, entities, to capture it and then share it. And I think that if successful selling, it's all about being helpful. If you're not helpful, you're not influential. And every single person you help has the potential to increase your circle of influence.
But did you use Twitter as kind of your channel of choice, right? Or do you have another channel?
Yeah, I find Twitter to be magical for me. I've done a few slide shares, and I'm about to pass 2 million views on slide shares. So I tell you what, I find SlideShare to be ridiculously impactful in terms of connecting. I write a weekly blog, as you know, and I think creating content is important. You don't have to create content. I certainly spent the first year on social network curating content, but at some point I needed to share my voice and thoughts beyond 140 characters. So I started blogging. But Twitter to me is is just pure magic. And I tell you what, when I connect with an executive on Twitter, that becomes our primary method of communication. They don't email me anymore. They don't text me. They don't call me. They tweet me or DM me. Now that quickly can lead to a phone call or email. But the first most preferred method is Twitter.
Well, Jon, I look at Twitter as just for a place to connect with people like you and Vala and potential customers if our customers are even on Twitter. But I find that something like YouTube works a lot better, where you do a video for every step of the sales funnel, for our clients anyway, is very effective. So YouTube overall for me has a better conversion rate, reaches more people, and because it's very SEO friendly, can be found pretty easily. So it just hits everything. So for me, I'm okay with Twitter because I like it as a connection tool. But in terms of social selling, I like taking videos and having people pre-sold for what we deliver to them, which are digital marketing solutions and services for me. What do you think about that, Jon?
Well, I love Twitter because for me it's like going on a walk with somebody. I like LinkedIn. It's like going in my lobby. You know, you can go look at my suits and my resume.
LinkedIn's limited now, isn't it? I mean, you can't.
But hang on. To find a point on a map, you need 3 data points: longitude, latitude, and altitude. And if you just have 2 of those or 1 of those, you may not find me, because I may be at 30,000 feet or I may be at 100 feet.
But
and
Jon,
so ultimately, I'm going to finish here.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. So I believe that if you read McKinsey's customer journey, which I really dig that article, Google McKinsey's customer journey, it talks about walking your customer's digital footprint, not just before the sale, not just after the sale, but throughout the entire process of retention and referral and all that. I believe that you should use all the channels that they're walking in. And so for me, I feel a picture is 1,000 words. So Instagram for me is a powerful place to understand another human being and to touch their heart and their soul. So I use Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, Foursquare, Google+, Crunchbase, AngelList, and others, Quora, and other things like that to connect and understand other human beings. And I share content not just from a business level, but stuff about my heart and soul. And Mark, you know, you and I connect on Facebook on a regular basis, and it's not about business shit. It's about what in our passion, plan, and purpose, not on the business side, but on the life side. So we share about food and family and frustrations, right? And so that's how we stay connected as human beings. And so, yes, YouTube videos are powerful, but I also use Vimeo and I do videos on Blab and other places. But I think that as a business person today, if you don't have personal and professional landing pages on all the places where your customers and friends are consuming their digital information, you're missing an opportunity to stay top of mind with people. And so I think that if you want to know who Jon Ferrara is and you rely on my LinkedIn resume, you're only understand a little bit of me. But if you really want to connect with me as a human being, go check out my Twitter, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my Instagram. And today, as a business person, if you have to go to all those places to do that and to catch up with all that stuff, you won't do it. And so today what we do is we basically use content to send people to our website. We capture those leads, we put them on a market automation system, we drip them until they're lead qualified, we stick them in the CRM, we tell our sales reps to go get them. Sales reps immediately have to go Google them to understand who they are, and then they're supposed to type that stuff in the CRM, and then they go and engage wherever they can with the customer. In most cases, that's email and social, and then they're supposed to log that in the CRM. The biggest cause of failure of CRM is lack of use. And I think, Vala, the reason they call it Salesforce is you have to force salespeople to use it. Nobody in their right mind would use a CRM if they weren't beat on to use it. And in fact, I know most of the CRM analysts in the world, none of them use a CRM. And I think until we change the point of the CRM from customer reporting management to truly about customer relationship management, where it's powering that customer-facing business team member to be more successful, where we're doing the work for them, sales reps shouldn't work for their CRM. It should work for them. And they shouldn't have to go to the CRM to work with it. It should go with them everywhere they work. Because if your sales reps are inside their CRM, they're not engaging with customers. And so that's my belief of the future of relationship management. The future relationship manager will work for you by building itself and then work with you wherever you work, because you should be in front of your customers on a daily basis, inspiring and educating and help them become better, smarter, faster.
So
Did I
Daniel,
get up on my soapbox?
yes, but that's fine. I want to have Daniel try and knock you off of it now. Daniel.
No, I saw him nodding.
Yeah,
I nodded. No, I mean,
Daniel,
CRM.
no,
yeah, go
ahead. John's very unique, right? He's on 20 different channels. As you know, I'm not
on 20 different channels.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay, but I'm on 4, and I can't keep up with it.
Use Twitter,
I have one.
Facebook,
2.
LinkedIn, and Instagram.
So
LinkedIn, Twitter. That's it.
But
That's
Daniel, and I think you're even above and beyond where most people are, especially in sales. What's realistic here about what John's saying? Do we all need to become like Jon and Vala, or is there some kind of middle ground?
No. I mean, John's the best salesman I've ever met. So I mean, but he's busy doing a lot of social engagement. That's what he's doing to sell himself, his company, his vision.
But everyone's on social though, so everyone's
on social, but not with 15 channels. I mean, that's crazy.
I'm not on 15.
I ran out of hands.
You know what? I probably spend 15 minutes a day doing my basic social media. So you don't have to spend your whole day on social media to do it, unless you're Brian Fanzo. Brian, how you doing, man? Because we don't have time for that.
Wherever you are, try to add value. I discovered Periscope a few months ago, and by the way, I don't work for Twitter, so I'm making all these plugs for Twitter products. But my first use of Periscope was we had a 3D machine in our lab, and we were building a 3D cover for an access point, a wireless access point. And I realized that we talk a lot about 3D, but probably most of the people on my network have never seen a 3D machine in action. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go in the lab and I'm going to Periscope us building a 3-dimensional cover of an access point. In 5 minutes, 20,000 likes, 600 people watching live. And, we got 500,000 likes on Periscope because I deliberately make sure if I'm scoping something, it's something interesting. So when Ray Wang did a keynote about digital disruption at an event, I Periscoped this 10-minute keynote, and we had, 500 people watching live. And it was just a new platform, but I recognized, wow, I'm learning a ton listening to Ray. Why don't I share this with my network? And I felt value to my network. So you don't have to be on 20, you don't have to be on 3, but wherever you are, make sure that you're sharing interesting content that can help people grow. And if you follow that rule, I think you'll be okay.
Okay, but let me put my marketer's hat on for just a second, marketer/sales hat. Some of these platforms don't make it easy to convert, like Instagram. Jon, you're on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram to share sports stuff, right, because of our sports platform. But I'm not expecting any conversions. Twitter's fairly easy to convert. Facebook, if you do it right and you pay money, is probably the best platform to convert. YouTube's great to convert, but all the rest of them, it seems, I don't know, they just don't provide a lot of value for me unless I'm trying to connect with Jon Ferrara, Vala, Afshar, and Daniel Tautges one-on-one. Where am I wrong?
Well, the way that I built Goldmine, I couldn't approach the millions of small and medium-sized businesses out there who would need a networkable relationship manager, and I had to educate the marketplace. How do you go and bring a product to market that people don't even know? We were pre-Outlook, pre-SFA, CRM, market automation. So what I did is identified the influencer of my core constituency in and around the areas of promise of my product. In those days, it was the Novell reseller. So I cold called every Novell reseller in the country, and I got them to use it because people sell what they know and they know what they use. And that's basically how we bootstrap Goldmine on $5,000. And I've done the same thing with Nimble. So basically, there's no way I could approach millions of business people around the world. So if you could figure out who is the key influencer of your core customer or build a pay-it-forward relationship where you're adding value to their journey, they will introduce you to whoever you want. And this does scale to any business person, because if I wanted to go sell investment advice to high net worth individuals, who are their trusted advisors? And so whatever means that you can connect with the people that you need to connect with, then you should do that. means picking up the phone. It means doing whatever you need to do. And so don't think, oh gosh, I can't do Instagram because, I don't want to put pictures of myself out there, or Twitter, I can't understand. You know what? My first tweet I did, I think in 2008, and I said, hello world, right? And it's like, you got to get out in the river. So I like to tell this story. Imagine that there is a digital river running by your office right now, and you have the opportunity to fish in that digital river. All you got to do is drop lures into the river so that you can catch connections, to turn connections, conversations, and relationships into a measurable, mutually beneficial outcome. And you do that. It's so simple. If you just drip lures of inspirational, educational stuff on a regular basis, and I call it the 5 E's of social business: educate, enchant, engage, embrace, and empower your customer. And if you do that on a daily basis, you will win. And it's not that hard.
Okay, but Jon, there's a lot of fishing poles in that river that you're describing, right? And I have to compete with you and Vala and Daniel in some cases. That's pretty difficult to do.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a formula. It's so easy. And every business person should do this, because your network is your net worth. So basically, whoever you are, you will not work where you're working in 1 to 3 years, on average.
On average.
Okay? Yeah, on average. So what you should do is you should figure out the top thought leaders in your areas of passion, plan, and purpose, and begin to share their content on a regular basis, and appropriately put their name in the sharing to the hashtag that people know what category they should be looking for the stuff. And just don't do it in the business aspects of your passion, plan, and purpose, but also do it in your stuff you love to do, backpacking, mountain biking, whatever, and just practice that. And even if you just 1 a day or 3 a day or 5 a day or whatever it is, if you do that and you build a nice picture of yourself on your site, Vala, you got to fix yours, a nice picture of yourself on your identities on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And you don't just leave your picture, you put a background with a little bit of your heart and soul. On mine, it's photographs I take. And then you share content out there. And it's not just all about your products or your services. It's about your passion, your purpose on personal and business level. If you do that for 30 days, it will change your life. I guarantee it. Just go out there and get in the river and start swimming. Dang it.
Vala, do you agree with that, what Jon's saying? And can we trace this to specific customer acquisition, some of the activities that Jon's talking about? I know I can. I'm just wondering if the majority of Salesforce customers can.
Absolutely. So I don't think I'm qualified right now to speak to majority of Salesforce customers, but I can tell you, I was a Salesforce customer, and I could. Salesforce invested nearly $4 billion in marketing technologies to help measure influence across social networks, both structured and unstructured data mapped to specific opportunities, contacts, and campaigns that you run in marketing. So the science has absolutely evolved today, where you can point to not only buying signals from various social networks, but actually mapping those buying signals to existing opportunities, contacts, and accounts. No question. I was doing it as a former CMO of a company before joining. Now, it's not trivial. It requires investment in talent, in training. It's not a technology play. I actually think it requires a culture where you can embrace transparency. I think some marketeers enjoy spending money and not being accountable for explaining whether that results in revenue, in customer acquisition, and business outcomes that are meaningful. But in my opinion, those marketeers are going to be definitely looking for work in less than 1 to 3 years.
So Daniel, why, again, I keep coming back to this because I know you're you can help us represent the naysayers out there. Why are people not doing what Jon and Vala are talking about, getting in that river and fishing? Do they not see value, or do they not see value quick enough? What do you think it is?
I'm not sure it's promoted internally. I'm not sure companies are actually promoting it. If I've got a sales guy on Twitter all day or a gal on Twitter all day, what are you doing? And are you meeting your quota? Now, if they're killing their quota, I don't really care. But if they're not, you're starting to look at behaviors, right? So
that's the mentality, Daniel, is the guys on Twitter all day. And I'm just going to share a story with you, another story. I remember when they used to lock people out of browsers at work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And Facebook.
They thought they're going to waste time, and they said,
Right.
"Don't be on a browser. Our customers aren't there. We're a brick and mortar company." I got one word for you: Blockbuster. So, so the thing is that if a salesperson wakes up in the morning, has their coffee, and as they're consuming information because they're passionate about what they're selling anyways, they basically cure up a few things and they share it, and they go to work and they do their stuff and they come home and they react to people that bid on it. You know what? They're putting in the extra effort to build their brand, which is going to build the company brand. And I'm going to tell you, Mark, I love the way you're talking about it, but if you look outside that window right now, that you can't throw a stick without somebody talking about their brand and their network. LinkedIn is spending billions of dollars on advertising, as is Salesforce, to educate people about the power of social and its effect on business. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, guys. Get used to it. Okay. I think the problem is going to be we're going to be over-contented, right? It's just going to be overwhelmed, right? We're going to have to deal with the fact that if everybody's spewing, then nobody's listening. And I love what Brian just said, that listening is key, right? That's the best skill any salesperson has, because your customers will tell you what you need to do to help them grow. And if you simply listen to them and then address their issues, you're done. But to get in the door, to get the trust and the intimacy, it's old-fashioned. Breaking the ice, building relationships. And I'm just saying that social helps you do that. You know, I walk down the street of my local street on Montana Avenue, and I cringe when I look at people in their stores waiting for somebody to come in. If you're sitting there waiting for somebody to come in your store, you're dead today. And so what you got to do is you got to get out there and pull them in. Did you know at Comdex, I used to have everybody in my booth out in the aisle? And we basically got a yellow flyer that was the yellow gold mine flyer about how to get the show special. And we converted the bulk of the people who went to Comdex into gold mine users. You got to get out in the river and pull those customers in. God dang it.
I agree, John. It's never been easier, but you've got to build up that network like you talked about. And that takes time. And I think, Daniel, to answer my own question, is that I don't know if sales managers and CEOs of smaller companies have the patience yet. They need to be taught that patience, or they need to hire people that already have those networks. To John's point is your network will be your net worth going forward. I'm a total believer in that, John, ever since you first brought that up to me 5 years ago. So I think that's more or less the issue, is that these people have tried it for 30 days, maybe not even 30 days. Even if they did try it for 30 days, they didn't do it well. They didn't get results, and they say, this is bullshit. I'm gonna not allow my salespeople to do it anymore. I think that's been the problem. There hasn't been enough education on how to do it right.
And I think that companies are still afraid of social, and they're afraid of letting their employees build their brands. And I could tell you of an analyst company in Boston that begins with F, that basically made it illegal for their analysts to have profiles on social. Left. And they all left, right? Yeah. And so I could tell you of a car company that there's a sales rep at a car dealership who basically was selling 5 times as any salesperson, and they fired that person because they're afraid that they were building their brand. Don't be afraid of your employees growing and leaving you. They will. You know what? I pray that everybody who works at Nimble today grows so big, so amazing that they leave the company and they go off and do amazing things, because
Vala's
that says I'm doing my job.
Vala's trying to hire him already. So
you know what? My last sales team was hired by Balmer, and they went and built Microsoft Dynamics, but that's a whole different story.
Okay.
You know, it's one of my favorite TED Talks is the Simon Sinek and the Power of Why. When you listen to John, all his stories, he's explaining the why. And it's important for business executives, CEOs, head of sales, folks that are passionate about connecting and collaboration, to take the necessary time and explain the why. We're comfortable speaking about the what and how, but not often do we spend and burn enough calories to articulate the why. And look, how much data points do you need? In August, 1 out of 7 people on Earth in one day were on Facebook. You had 1 billion people active on a social network in a single day. And when you look at the statistics in terms of social networks and their growth, in not only at a personal level but business, if you're ignoring it, you're you're not going to be around. You're just not going to, or you're not going to achieve full potential.
And I think we're going to get there, Vala, when we stop talking about social, right? Do you remember it was eat toys and I this and eat that, right? And now nobody talks about the internet. It's the plumbing, right? So we're going to evolve when we start talking about stop talking about social CRM and social selling and just talk about business, right? Just talk about the basics. And I think it does hinge around trust and relationships.
Okay. On that note,
oldest time. That is the very basics of sales, isn't it?
It is.
Agreed.
It is.
Agreed.
All right, gentlemen. On that note, we've got to end it. We're at our hour. Sorry about changing the time. I know that was a little disruptive, but I'm in Paris right now, so I couldn't get to the call any earlier.
Poor guy. Poor Mark.
Yeah. Right.
So, I want to close with one last thing.
Sure.
I love salespeople. So whoever out there thinks that I don't like salespeople, I am a salespeople person. I love to take sales calls. I love to be sold. And you know what? I just believe that we have to evolve the vision of what selling is. It's about serving. Service is the new sales. And if we get that through and have the mindset of customer success, then I think we can evolve sales. So all those people out there think I don't like salespeople, I love them. I love salespeople.
All right. On that note, thank you.